What's up, guys? I just wanted to post my video here of my idea on EGLD. This is a cryptocurrency, if you're not aware. It had a massive fall along with all the other altcoins. It is an altcoin. I believe you can get it on Coinbase. This is something I went over a long time ago on EGLD. Now, this is obviously the first weekly green candle, so it's hard to get too excited on it, but there is some bullish price action happening. We may have found a bottom, but it could be too soon to say. We could still have a reaction rally and then continue bouncing around. But we do have some EMA resistance up here at 130 and 180 if we were to have a giant rally. Not saying that that's what's going to happen off of this one green candle, but it is something to think about. Now, I'm going to show you guys in the smaller time frames here something that could be playing out here and about to play out here in the next few hours potentially, or days. But the first thing I wanted to look at is this pattern right here on the weekly. Now, of course, you could call it a head and shoulders pattern, but that right shoulder is kind of shitty. In my view, it was just a bear flag breakdown or a rising channel. But if you looked at it like this and connected these three weekly wicks, we could see here that this was potentially a bear flag, and it could target a pretty low move if we were to take the measurement of the whole move, which is the same thing in reverse from a bull flag. You would go from the highest wick down to the low, and then same with a bear flag. So obviously that would be an unrealistic target right there. But this pattern right here is familiar to me because if we looked at Ethereum real quick, we could see something similar to Ethereum before the large explosion happened. Now, that's obviously similar as well right here to what it looks like EGLD is in, but this looks more like a head and shoulders pattern. But something that I notice from back in these days is we had something similar here, where we had our rip up, we had a drop back to support, and then a final rip before a trend break here that eventually came down. We had multiple red weeks, and then we started popping some green ones, but we still continued down. But overall, what did it do? It went into a massive consolidation that EGLD is nowhere near, and it created this huge double bottom, retest of the neckline, and then a rip. So that being said, if this is correct, then we may be spotting it early. So getting in right here at the first green weekly candle doesn't say like, hey, we're getting the exact bottom, because a lot can still happen. Now, that being said, this is an idea to watch, and this is something that we should be able to spot on a weekly time frame. That's how these parabolic moves happen. Everybody spots the same thing. Everybody agrees, and the market trends up. And that was basically the back test of the neckline right there. Now, that's Ethereum. Could EGLD be slowly getting prepared to create something like this? Now, this whole time frame right here took from the bottom on November 18th, or November 26, 2018, and it started the potential uptrend right here on July 20th, 2020. So that's almost 2 years, like a year and 6 months of consolidation. So going into EGLD, if this was the case, it's a little bit different because with Ethereum, we had this rip up, the back test, and then a rip. So it's not exactly perfect, but nothing's really gonna, these are different markets. Everyone's psychologically going to be playing them differently, so you can't expect it to be exactly the same. But if this was the case, then whether this has more room to go down or not, that's to be said. But if so, we'd be looking at something somewhat similar potentially as Ethereum did. So that's something I'm keeping my eyes on. Now, it's funny because I spotted this idea here way back when we were bouncing off of this trend line for the first time at 110. So I actually put a bid in at 110, and I was, before this large candle sell off, I was like, if this pulled an Ethereum, it would have to come back up and retest some of this previous resistance up here around 260. So I actually put a sell in, and I only bought a couple shares, like 5-6 shares at 110, and I sold them up here with a 240. Now it didn't stay up there long. It just wicked up there. It caught me on the sell, and then it went back into retracement, and it bounced off these levels again, which I continued to buy, but I was just selling them within this range. I think I sold this one. I posted on TradingView at the time. I sold this one around like 180 and 191, as it was some kind of EMA resistance. You can see here the 50 EMA. I believe that was at around 185, and then the 100 EMA on the daily at the time was around like 190 or something. So I ended up selling this right here. Well, it might have moved down from then, but either way, I sold a few things. So that's besides the point, doesn't matter. What I want to show you guys, we'll zoom in, is so far we have a beautiful double bottom on the daily, a higher low on the right, which is a powerful W, and we are coming up. This is the neckline right here at around $57. We have the daily 21 EMA, roughly around this $58, and potentially we are, let me check on a smaller time frame. If we look on the hourly, we are potentially creating a symmetrical triangle on top of this W neckline. Now, these patterns don't have to break to the upside, but we do have a few bullish things on our side. We have the double bottom, and we have the consolidation on top of the neckline. So if you look up a W pattern breakout, this is what you would see for a confirmation of a W breakout. You have the W, the rip, the back test of the neckline, and then the entry in the breakout. So from here, we would have to see, if we zoom in here, we can see these are all hourly candle bodies. So if you wanted to go off the bodies, you would zoom out and you would kind of do something like this. And that would be off of this body, and this body, and then wherever the line lands. So you can see here that as EGLD is getting very potentially tight just based off of the bodies, this is a pretty bad sell signal on the hourly, which could signal it could be coming back down here to this 58.88, or if this isn't a symmetrical triangle and it does roll over again, it could come back down and potentially retest this 57.04, which if you wanted to put a bid in would be probably closer to like 57.20, because that's the 100 EMA on the hourly if that does hold confluence. Now, right now, based off of the bodies, we are getting squeezed right here between the hourly 21 EMA and the hourly 50 EMA. The 21 is at 59.60 or 59.57, and the 50 EMA on the hourly is at 59.77. Now, we can see here that we've had hourly candle bodies closing above and then just rejecting right after. So, with that being said, we would have to see a few hourly candles confirming above this. If you wanted to get the tightest possible entry, that would be the way we would do it. Same with the downside. If we lost this 58.80, we started trending down, we would have to close completely and reject underneath 57.04 to confirm that this is not going to be happening. Another way we could do it is we can go off of the wicks like that, and then we would see here that if we got a pop up, we'd still have some resistance at the $61 range. We'd want to see some kind of support being held above that. But you can see here in the hourly, even if we drew a line like that, we could see that, hey, this, and that actually makes it look more like a bearish pattern, but because you can see we had this downwards move into it and then we're chopping around. So if that was going to be the case, then we would actually be looking at a potential breakdown here, not going off the wicks, that's going off the bodies anyway, but if we were to do that, then our breakdown would actually bring us down here back to 55.20. So these are a few things definitely to look at if this did continue or head back down. Same with the overall pattern. Let's see the breakout and the breakdown of this pattern. If it's just a symmetrical triangle, then we would be looking at, if we broke to the upside here, we'd be looking at roughly $68, and to the downside, we'd be looking at down at 52.23 overall. So, and then if it was a bull pennant, which would be the size of this whole run here, this would be the flagpole, and we'd bring it up and we'd give a measure move up to almost $80. So these are a few things that can happen. Now, if we got the measured move to the $80 range, personally, I'd be looking at something in this range, which is roughly $75, $76. Now, the reason I say that is because you can see here, if you zoom in on the hourly, this right here was holding as some pretty good support, roughly around $75.50 to $74 for a take profit. If we did that, we would be coming back up here and potentially retesting this area as resistance, consolidating under it, and figuring out if it's going to get rejected and have to come back to the mean of support, or if it's going to flag out and continued further. And then based off of the W pattern, you'd go from the middle of the W right here, and you would put your target up from the neckline up, and this right here would target $70. So we have a couple different targets to go off of, and $70 has some confluence here, as we did chop around a little bit up in this range right here. But we were really just trending under this 50 EMA, but we had some significant support here at 65 and resistance roughly around the 68. So in this little chop range right here is another area. Now, of course, we don't have to be at the bottom right now, but if this is bottoming out, because that's what a double bottom reversal usually does, it bottoms the trend for the short term at least, and this is on a daily pattern, so it should be pretty decent. But we will definitely have to see how this pans out. Now, for me, I have not, I did enter in this area down here as I was watching the second low right here occur. I missed this first run. We ripped. Oh, wait. Did I get in on this? Oh, I did get in on this because I didn't see it go to 60. I don't really remember the exact spot because I got in on one of these lows, probably down here where my alert is set. Yeah, this is the orange line. I got in right around here, around 44, $45. It ripped up, it came back down, and I started buying again in this $45 range. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to stop loss it down, which I didn't get these lows down here in the 38s. I missed that. But I just stop lost it in this green box, and I'm planning to take my profits up at $76 if I even decide to. It depends if I'm doing this as a trade, but I did buy 10 of them. So right now we are consolidating and getting tight. So this is where we have to really pay attention, because if it does break down here, we still have this support down here, and if it breaks up, we still have this resistance roughly between this 60 and this $61. I mean, you could even chalk it up all the way up here to 64, because that was where we wicked out and had a pretty strong rejection. So whether or not this trend just continues to chop, once you break this $64 and close a candle body above and continue this trend, you're going to definitely see confirmation. So seeing that I bought down in these lows here, I have a pretty good average. So I'm actually hoping, although this looks bullish, I'm actually hoping that this does come back down, because I want to buy more down in this range or lower if it gives it to me. I'm okay with that. But for now, this is just something I'm watching. Is another way we could do it is you could also, if we did get a breakdown, you could pull this pattern support that so far we've tested it here at 37, we tested it here at 43, and if we did pull back down, we could look for potential support at this 49.09. So that would be something to watch as well if you're trying to buy a good dip or something. But if this bullish pattern plays out, you can see my targets above. But overall, like I said, from a weekly perspective, this still has potentially a while to go. So, if we looked back at Ethereum just for the hell of it, where's Ethereum? If we looked back at Ethereum and we went back to back in its prime, and we went to a daily, if it'll allow me to zoom back that far without it being a nightmare to get there. This was before the parabolic run. This was the double bottom that took a while to occur right here. We came down and we had a double bottom on the daily right here to start. It started at this 81, and then it had a second low of 101, and this was pretty much the neckline, which, as you can see, we pretty much made the W. We rejected here, we came down, and then we scooped for one last scoop, and then we came up, and then we consolidated on top and continued up. So that's just something to keep in mind in regards to EGLD is doing something a little more different, because EGLD actually came up here and consolidated right from this point, where Ethereum came up, scooped, and then consolidated here. But we can see what happened even in this consolidation here, where we were making, this wasn't really a ascending triangle, this was more of like a nice bull flag or something of the sort, and it pretty much measured out probably, this is a very choppy, well, you could see here we were starting to make like multiple patterns. So I guess this one was the symmetrical triangle right here, and we got really tight, just like EGLD is, and then we blasted off. So if we were to pull up a daily and just to see where we're at as far as moving averages on EGLD, because we could see there it reclaimed the 50 EMA, and that was really where it seemed like it started to pull to the upside. So EGLD, if we looked in the daily, it might not, yeah, we're still not anywhere near the 50 EMA. So the 50 EMA is way up here. So, this could still just be a bearish trend. You can see the multiple wicks on the daily. The one good thing is holding above this $58. That's the 21 daily EMA, something that's been giving us a lot of resistance this whole run, and now we're starting to pop above it. So we still have maybe another day or two to potentially confirm if this is really going to hold it as support. If the next candle is a red candle and we just dump down, then obviously that's not going to be a confirmed support there. And on the 4-hour, you can see how tight this is getting. And then lastly, we can look at the chart type, which is the line chart, which is another way that you can actually find clarity to some patterns if we looked at it like this. And then you could see that, hey, this actually doesn't look like a symmetrical triangle anymore now that we're on the line chart. It's actually pretty choppy for a line chart, but we can definitely see where the candles have been closing. So if this was actually going to be some type of bearish move into it, and then this is like a small bear flag of some sort, then we could be looking at a price down here where these moving averages on the 4-hour are converging in this 54. But either way, I'm just watching this pretty much $57 area. If you look on the line chart, it's actually showing 56, but I have it at 57. I'm going to keep it there, 57.04. But we're just going to want to watch and see how this is going to play out here. If we're going to get rejected and continue down, or if we're going to be able to get a nice breakout move to the upside. So hopefully this all made sense to you guys. Like I said, I'm a bull on EGLD, but I'm loving these lower prices. I've always played swings on it, and it's worked out really nicely. It does have some power, and right now we do look like we are potentially attempting to confirm a neckline of a W pattern. We'll have to see how this plays out. You want to see this break 64 and at least hold this 56.70 to $57 as support, and if it doesn't, then I would expect a drop down into this $49 area, or even back to some of these lows depending on how the rest of the market moves. But overall, I am very bullish on EGLD, and I hope this was helpful. This looks like a move could be brewing, to figure out whether it's up or down. We're going to have to wait for some confirmation. If this does start to get some kind of nice break to the upside, then I will actually be adding into my trade, And if we don't see this upside break, then that's fine. I'll be loading up on the lows again, because that's exactly what I'm hoping for. I want to get some more low buys in anyway. But if this does want to continue moving, I'm just not going to let it go without me. I'll continue to add to my trades. But I'd have to see it break above 61.30 and actually hold as support here. So if we got a big spike move up, we tap the 64, trend it back down, and we started consolidating here, then this might be looking like another play for us here. So that's something to watch. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Sorry if I was kind of monotone talking quietly. I'm just at work. But yeah, keep an eye on EGLD and look at these two levels here. These are huge. And also watch this pattern, because we are looking like we're heading down to the support here, which should be around 58.91 potentially. If it does get that low, if it starts to break it, you could expect that it might come down lower here. But Bitcoin's also trying to set up, but it could be just bouncing between the 19,780 and the 21,200 area for a little while. So we'll have to see how the stock market opens. Peace.